watched Yankee Doodle Dandy from 1942, which is it's a very silly title, I know. This one is actually voted as one of the low on the list in the top 100 movies of all time, American-made movies or American money-made movies, whichever. It's on there. And I did watch this movie like 30 years ago, BBC or TCM or something like that, the places for old movies. And I remember it's a pretty good movie, and I watched it again, and yeah, it's a pretty good movie. Yankee Doodle is a traditional American song, and Yankee Doodle Dandy is a variation of that written by one George M. Cohan. I'd have to look it up when he wrote that one, but somewhere around 1900, between 1900 and 1920. George M. Cohan was called the King of Broadway. He could do it all. He could sing, he could dance, tap, which is the thing that Americans all dance, which is fair enough. He was Irish, so he could write songs, sing songs, write songs. Also write a pretty good script, or good enough, for proto-musicals. It's not musicals the way we do them now. At the time he was writing stuff, these musicals were, or musical theatrical things were sort of like little skits with music added. So like singular things, not a complete narrative like the modern musicals is a complete narrative with songs added. He was still in a time when you have a pretty girl sing a song, and then people do a dance, and then the next scene is something completely different. Or maybe it's a set of like 3 scenes that are sort of connected, but that's kind of what he did. He wrote a lot of songs for this. One of the songs that you may have heard of was Give My Regards to Broadway. That's one that's been enduring. I know Gene Kelly sang it once in one of his pictures. It's one of those evergreens. The other evergreen, even more important, is a song called Over There, and for which he wrote in conjunction with World War One. This guy is famous, and when they made this picture in 1942, he was an old fella. He was still there, and he helped with the story of this picture. So he also saw it just before. One of the things that is interesting about Cohan, or one of the things he always said, is that I was born on the 4th of July. It's not true, he was born on the 3rd, but hey, close enough. So he was always doing this patriotic thing with the 4th of July, and so they wanted this film in 1942 to come out on the 4th of July. But because Cohan was sick, they were thinking, oh, he might not make it to the 4th of July. So they had it come out about 5 weeks early in May sometime. Which means that it would have been in cinemas at the 4th of July, so, or at least the larger cinemas. It was a good choice. The fact that the guy saw it, it's an excellent choice. He was appreciative of it. And he died in November, so half a year later. So, very serious case of just in time. It stars James Cagney, who is also of Irish descent. There was actually some talk of Fred Astaire being in it, but Fred Astaire said, because George M. Cohan is very famous. Everybody in this time would know about him, and also had seen some of the actual performances, because he was still performing until quite late. And the guy had a very specific dancing style, and Fred Astaire said, I can't do that, so wouldn't be the right person to do this. And James Cagney did all that. He has like these little legs that go every which way, and even James Cagney, who was not the youngest at this moment, but still, even James Cagney actually twisted an ankle doing this routine. So difficult routines. But James Cagney, he got an Oscar for this in performance because that, and also And when I was listening to it, I was going, "What am I hearing when he was singing? What am I hearing? I'm hearing something very specific because I had heard James Cagney sing, and he doesn't sound like himself. So what he was doing was this effect that George Cohan had in his songs, which was of course a style of a 1910 style. Once it was recorded to gramophone, it would have been that affect, the way you round the vowels. James Cagney did it exactly, and it sounds. You're missing the crackly of the record and the tinniness of the record sound, but other than that, it sounds exactly like a 1910 performance would have been. I think in the style, in the affect, in this is why he got that Oscar, because he deserved that one. Absolutely. The movie is from 1942, so there are some things where I go scratchy of heads. There are some flashes for the people who are prone to having a problem with that, but you can see it there. They come from photo cameras, so when they come on with the photo cameras, just close your eyes. They're going to be flashes. There's also the 1940s banter, and I was watching a film from about 15 years later, and then the banter is gone. This is where the banter is still strong. Yappy, yappy, yappy. And it's set in New York, so yappy, yappy, yappy on steroids. And they're Irish, so yappy, yappy on steroids with shamrocks. So, yeah, lots of yappy. There are some black characters in it. They are all servants. It's 1942. However, there is right at the beginning, there's a scene between old Mr. Cohan, who comes to the White House for a appointment with the president, and he's the butler that takes his coat, and when he walks up, they talk. And it was a nice long scene. It's not good enough, but I'll take it. And later on, because the Cohens, George M. Cohan was from a vaudevillian family, so his mother, his father, and then once he had a little sister, everybody's on stage. And of course, they do a lot of numbers. There's 23 numbers in this thing. 23 numbers, and a runtime of 2 hours and 6 minutes means a song every 5.5 minutes. Holy frick. And one of these songs they do, and it's like a very short moment of that, is a minstrel blackface thing. It is very short, and but because they're Irish, so it's completely. They were showing that all the things that would have been going on between 1890s and 1930, all the things that would have been in vaudeville or on stage, everything. And this is part of that, so fair enough. But they kept it short. The other weird moment is there is in this movie, very oddly, a mid-film finale. And because this is the story of George M. Cohan, who was not dead at the end, and he doesn't die at the end because not dead. But still, his heyday was not now in 1942, it was earlier in World War I. And since it is 1942 in reality here, they really ramp up the World War I's rhetoric because it is World War II rhetoric basically. And so the big mid-movie finale has everything, including guns and flags and the kitchen sink and Auld Lang Syne and God Save the King. I'm not kidding. God Save the King is in the middle of that. I think the text is different, but it's hard to hear. And also there's a moment of a black group singing Glory Hallelujah to an enormous statue of Lincoln. And they're all dressed in like slave-like stuff, you know. You know, it is 1942. There are a lot of things that are really good about this movie. But they are very aware. It is 1942. They are in the middle of a war. The war has started for realsies for the Americans. So they are in it, and this is a vessel for patriotism. I didn't see a war bond thing at the end, but I wouldn't have expected to see that. But a lot of flag waving, and like Over There, which was the song of World War One, for the Yankees are coming over there, and translates to World War Two perfectly. So yeah. Story starts with him when he gets born, basically. That's when it starts. And the film was very smart for a biopic. Biopics can be very... life is pretty boring, even if interesting things happen. So you have to do a bit of picking and choosing. But then sometimes they sort of go, oh, it's not interesting enough, so we'll pick something that doesn't belong in and put it in here. And they didn't do that. So he is a vaudevillian kid from a vaudevillian family. Everybody's on stage. He's almost born on stage. Almost. And when he is a little boy, he's pushed on. He goes on the stage and sings a song. And there's been a movie where the kid is pushed on stage and just goes sing a song. No, he's been rehearsed. He sings a song, and then his sister, when she's 5 years old, she comes and sings a song, and they're both rehearsed. Everybody is well prepared and well rehearsed. The learning curve for the kid is that he is good, and he gets cocky real fast. So at 13 he gets real cocky. And he gets and it gets a much needed lesson. And so the story is not embellished with facts that didn't happen. They were on the road a lot, and they had bad times, they had good times. Sometimes they shot themselves in their own feet, because that happens. Sometimes you got lucky, and because that happens. And at some point, the fashion changes. Is kind of what happened. Also, George was not a child anymore. He's 18, and he wants to... He writes songs, so he wants to perform them, and there was no room. It's not even that there was no room for it. It's just where, And he was, I think they were already performing his songs with the four of them. So they were doing the two couples, the mother and the father, and the siblings as two couples, and do a song and dance in fashion. Really, their fashion is pretty spot on for the time. So that's really nice. Even though they do skip the flapper stuff, but it's not yet. This is still 1890s, 1900s. He was born in 1878, so by 1900 he's 21, 22. And he set out on his own, and the story is very normal but well presented, without trying to do things that wouldn't fit. They do a lot of stuff, and they do compress the timeline quite a bit. So once he gets successful on Broadway as a producer and an actor and a songwriter, he's doing so much that he actually wanted to produce and write a drama. Because he always wrote most musical stuff, and he was very successful with that. But he wanted to write a drama without all the glitz. And without him. So they put that on in one of his many theaters, because he was a mogul by this point, a theater mogul. But it wasn't successful. And that's upsetting, that the one thing that you wanted to be successful is not. But, and they have it in the movie, they have that lack of success suddenly overshadowed by the sinking of the Lusitania, which happened in 1917. Which was a world news thing, and the start of World War I for the Americans. Europe was already in the war. In reality, Lusitania happened in 1917, but that play happened in 1905. So a little bit of fast and loose with the timeline. But I don't think it's an issue in any way, especially because George M. Cohan actually signed off on most of this, or good enough. It's a case of good enough for accuracy. Both events happened; they just didn't happen quite at the same time. But for the drama, it's a nice sequence. Dramatically, it's a nice sequence. The outfits are really good. I like I suppose I did like the sequence of the children in 1890s, where he does something real dumb and gets his bum walloped by the dad, because deserved. Yeah, they did that in 1890, and you can not show it, but that would not be accurate. So I didn't like the fact of it, but it belongs there. A certain amount of discipline for the kids at the time. You wouldn't want to do it now, but there you go. The outfits and stuff like that, wonderful. And in the 1890s, they're wearing which is the big, it's not as big as it should be, but they have a sense of puffy sleeve and straight dress, but with long dress. And they keep that up quite a long time, because most of his age was 1900 to about World War One, and the flapper stuff is. He in the movie he tries to sign up for World War One, because everybody signed up for World War One for the army, but they turn him down because he's too old. That's. Basically, it was important that you try to sign up. It's not, you don't have to succeed for signing up. But then in the film, he goes into entertaining the troops for World War One, which is kind of a shorthand for entertaining the troops of World War Two, which is what this movie is doing. So this movie is incredibly self-aware in a way. In a good way, I think. And I think this movie is definitely a worthy contender to be on the list of best 100 movies of the States. It's too bad it's in black and white, but another thing they did was it did all the this is on paper, this is a musical. But all the songs are always performance pieces. They're all singing, doing their performance on stage is the one that you see. Nobody just sings out in the dressing room for no reason, or good reason, but no audience. So everything is a production number on stage, or a song sung by a lady on stage, because it was a performance. Hey. It means that most of the stuff happens indoors. There are a couple of outdoor scenes, but the most interesting outdoor scene, which is indoor, is a race. They have a race on stage. And I was looking at that and going, so this is where My Fair Lady learned how to do it, because they also, you have the audience, not the audience of the audience, but the audience watching the race on the stage. Look out at the audience and comment on the race. Perfect. And it's a bunch of these things that they do in this are just stage tricks to get the idea going. And I don't know if that was George Cohan, also a George Cohan signature. It could have been. Or it's just in 1942 they know how to do this kind of thing. They know a lot about stage stuff. Interesting little fact is that James Cagney plays George M. Cohan, but the sister is played by his own sister. And his brother was one of the people in the production. So kind of a family production, which is very cute, because one of the signature things that George M. Cohan would always say at the end of performance with the family is, my father thanks you, my mother thanks you, my sister thanks you, and I thank you. It was a signature thing, and I think that the fact that we have like two extra Cagneys, three Cagneys altogether in this production is kind of cool. Very cool. Yeah, this movie is is recommended. It flows really good. It knows how to movie. It's never boring. It is a musical, but it's never boring. It's not pretentious. It's very pretentious in the patriotism, but even that is not annoying. You know, I've seen annoying patriotism, patriotic American things. This is not it. This is pretty honest, pretty straightforward. They make sure that you get some of that, but not all the time. They do the story, and they make sure that once you feel, okay, I'm done with the story bit, they give you a musical number that has nothing to do with the story. And they smart. Nothing is ever perfect. This could have been in color, would have been better, but the black and white is also pretty nice, and the framing is nice. On the premise that nothing is ever perfect, this is pretty damn good, and that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.